welcome to Keen on Yoga, and this is a podcast. I'm sorry for the quality first of all, because we're recording without a microphone. Our mic got broken in transit, and we're picking up one on Monday. But we wanted to get something out for you for the new year. We did it last year, a little New Year's roundup, and we're doing it this year. So perhaps not groundbreaking, but nevertheless gives you an idea of our normal lives, or at least our unusual lives, perhaps.
Yeah.
And the special guest, Theresa, is on the podcast, and very, very, very privileged to have her on the podcast. She's a rare animal to get on tape or on camera. So we're going to just crack on now and give a few ideas about our best and our most challenging aspects of the year, what we'd like to do better, perhaps some mistakes we've made, and obviously best meal and just best meal.
Start with that.
So I think that I was scheduled to ask Theresa the questions first, and then I will chip in and try and give a few of my answers. And by the way, we're doing this from Thailand this year, from the north of Thailand, Chiang Mai. We like Chiang Mai a lot. We've been here, I think this is our fifth time here, and never toured here, just working, doing online stuff, and taking a bit of a break from the schedule, just because we like the place. And this time of New Year, lovely weather, really warm in the day, but not too hot, not humid, and cool at the night. Last year we were in Bali, and both times this year and last year we're going to Australia. So in a couple of, few days, end of the week, we're going to fly to Australia for 2 workshops in Melbourne and Sydney. So if we don't see you there, then I hope to see you somewhere this year. Anyways, you can find my schedule and all that, so you don't need to hear about that now. To crack on with our idea of this New Year's roundup, our first question is, and I'm just looking at my notes, so I put these questions together. You have to put your glasses on. I probably need glasses. What were you most pleased with this year? And that goes to Theresa.
That's the only guess.
Yes. That's
the best thing this year was the question written there. Yes. Well, for me, I'd have to say it was, again, meeting so many students on our retreats and workshops, traveling around, because obviously you see quite a few daily on your Mysore, and you know a lot of them. But for me, when we're not in person, I am
lonely.
Well,
because we're bored with having me around all the time, and wants to talk to other people about normal stuff and not yoga stuff, and apparently
not philosophy.
Apparently, all I talk about is philosophy. So absolutely, it's nice to be with people. Nice to be, the privilege really of meeting so many people who are kind of coming together for something which is, pretty positive, we hope. It's really been a blessing to be in that position over a number of years now, going all around to different countries and meeting people of all walks of life, and they'll speak to you in English. So,
because we had 2 years in sort of lockdown in France, and I think
that was difficult. You didn't speak enough English.
Yeah, so
and not enough French probably as well.
No, I'm not very good at French. Although it's my second.
The second language. And the third language?
Spanish.
And fourth language? Greek. You speak a bit of Greek. That's got to be your fourth. I'd say the fourth language is English, the first language being Canadian English. No, it'll be the second language being English. Doesn't understand me most of the time, luckily. So, okay, the second question.
Can I just iterate on that one? That also, not just meeting so many people, but it was just really nice that we had full groups. It's really a good feeling and quite complimentary or whatever.
On a serious note, it's been really, really strange to have some success at this late stage, because, I wasn't always completely unsuccessful in teaching. I've had groups before. I had a Mysore class in London for a number of years in the city of London, which I've spoken about before, which is quite popular. We got up to 40 people a day there, so I suppose you could call that success. And other groups, we set up a group in Canada, in Vancouver, when we lived there. It was kind of somewhat successful. People came, but I've never really had much real success in. And not that I wanted to be kind of world famous, but it is unusual at this point, in this late point in being a teacher, that are suddenly going around and we had really well attended workshops and retreats all year.
I think we didn't always know, it is quite maybe a risk making these plans, a year in advance, and sort of
and flying all the way, and obviously yeah, it's
accepting invitations. You don't know, like, is anyone going to show up? And yeah, so we're very grateful for that.
just surprised. I'm constantly
Yeah.
surprised that there's the interest, to be honest. It's amazing. And I don't think I'll ever get over that. I think if you've not always had success, or you've known what failure is like, then I think you just appreciate success a lot more. Vis-a-vis my post recently on Instagram. Flattered that people are interested in what I say and my teaching. So thank you. Yeah. Then we have the second question. Moving on. Most challenging thing
For me,
yeah,
obviously planning all the travel, because there's just, I mean, everywhere we go to, people sort of ask about that too. Like, because we don't have a base and we do just live out of our suitcases, and it has just been sort of like flight after flight, and then accommodation and kind of what we do in between and everything like that. And car rental sometimes. It's a very logistical.
It's a logistical minefield. Yeah, Theresa does it all, and without Theresa doing it, I wouldn't probably got past the UK. So
That's true.
we are really bound to Theresa for that, and it is really confusing, even keeping up with my schedule. I always joke when am I going to Venice, because I haven't been to Venice, I haven't taught in Venice, but I don't know from one week to the next often where I'm teaching next. Obviously, when I arrive, I look at the schedule and look at my workshops, don't worry. But nevertheless, I don't always know, where I'm going and where I've been.
Well, you do at some point.
Yeah, at the start of the year, when Theresa gives me the schedule, and we talk about the schedule, in terms of, we only been going, the other crazy thing is we've only been going to where we've been invited. I mean, so that's been really, really nice to be invited. I mean, and have options, like, not to say that we've taken one over the other, but really just to try and fit them all in. And it's been a difficult, but a nice challenge to have. So yeah, we talk about that and how we can fit them in the schedule. And really, it's not like where we can pull the biggest group, but more like how it fits into travel arrangements, really, because we tend to. I mean, I was going to say one of my most biggest mistakes, I'd say, would be that we kind of travel too far, like rather than obviously trying to travel in small distances and trying not to use airplanes so much. We, sometimes we make this mistake of going, from Europe to Southern Europe, from Northern Europe to Southern Europe, or back again to a similar place, having gone to the UK or something like that, which is.
And we can't always. So far, we haven't been able to make the ideal
travel schedule
plan, where we're not sort of going so far out of the way.
Yeah,
we don't always.
I think if we're kind of doing this together, which it seems like a tip in after Theresa gives an answer, I'll just go back to the first question and say the most pleased I am, and let's rephrase that. The thing that I'm most pleased about is really when people say that in the Mysore room, that they compliment the Mysore room that I do when I have the Mysore room, and say that it's a really democratic and safe feeling space, and friendly and I don't welcoming. Like, I don't have favorites or a clique, or I'm not prioritizing advanced students, or it doesn't feel intimidating. They don't feel like they're going to get in trouble or anything like that. They feel encouraged. Those kind of things, I think, because that was always really my main wish for in my teaching, to provide that kind of space to allow people really to have their own process. That, that's all I always wanted in a Mysore space when I was in London, just to be able to go somewhere where I wasn't always kind of made to feel kind of claustrophobic, like I could kind of experiment with myself and was given a little bit of space to breathe, as it were. So,
and that's like online and in person.
Yeah. I mean, I think online it's easier to do, because obviously you're not ever going to be able to get all over someone so much. But when it's in person, that's really nice.
And people are surprised.
Say, well, I thought Mysore was like this, or it was about the rules, or about conforming. It's like, well, obviously Ashtanga is a method, and it's a method within a certain framework. So in some respects, it has certain kind of rules to follow, but it's a question of how you interpret them or how you deliver them, I think. And so it's nice to be able to make it a little bit more friendly, because it's not always, seem to be presented like that.
What was your most challenging thing? Because mine was planning the travel. What was yours?
Dealing with online criticism.
Yeah.
Shouting out.
You want to elaborate? Or?
I'm not an Ashtanga teacher. and this kind of thing. Just,
are you even teaching us?
Because I'm trying to make it friendly and applicable and approachable to the average person, right? Who doesn't have a hyper ability, flexibility and etc. to do these postures. They're all extreme shapes at the end of the day. And for an average person, I certainly, if I got into it over 40 now, if I got into it, I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. So it's easy to forget that. And I think that, anyone should be able to do it. Anyone that likes the idea of a connected form of practice that's meditative, that has a flow of it, that's repetitive. They value the repetition. They want to get more into their breath. They want to work with, however ambiguous that sounds, an energy in the body. They can do Ashtanga, and to make it accessible to all people.
And you feel that you've had people criticizing you online for that?
I don't feel I have. But there'll always be detractors. I mean, I think that's part of it as well, though, because I put out different state. It's not just for Ashtanga or my approach to the class is generally but.
And then how do you deal with?
I try. The thing is, I can't have it always, because I also try and encourage discussion, and I put out opinions which are mine, but there's somewhat sometimes controversial or maybe overly slanted a certain way to encourage debate, right? Because nothing is ever two ways. But if you put out something which is too equivocal, then it's you can't really get any. It's hard to know what the person's saying. So sometimes I try and encourage that, not by polarizing my thoughts, but certainly by putting out a particular statement, a particular slanted statement that might be overemphasizing a point to encourage interest. Just debate, because I think that's what I've always been interested in. I used to be part of the debating society when I was in school, and I still like a good debate. I think that's how we learn, and I think that's how we interact with each other, and it's interesting, and it develops things.
Debate with the critiquers?
No, I try to a little bit, but the thing is, I think people think when you're in a position like I've gotten into, where you have some level of renown, I suppose, that you have a thick skin because you're out there putting it out there. That I always put things out there. But it's hard. I haven't got a thick skin. And when people say things, they say things that still hurts. And sometimes they're right, and that hurts even more.
Did you learn?
I learn, of course I learn. People say stuff, and I learn from, often I've changed my mind about things, through hearing what people say. But it's
Some of it is very harsh. I've seen.
Some of it is harsh and unnecessarily harsh, and you can kind of say, well, that's just someone being kind of unkind. And they often, when they're really that unkind, they don't have much of a point. But sometimes it's appropriate, and it hits the spot, and it can be hard to deal with. But there are learning is always hard. Going from a place where you feel confident in yourself to a place where you don't, that's always unwanted. But that's what we have to do if we're going to move forward. So that's hard, but some of it necessary, challenging, yes. What's the biggest learning experience you've had?
Well, for me, I have to read all mine. The only sort of learning experience, I'm going to say, because I did take a course in driving in Chiang Mai.
The driving around Chiang Mai definitely is intense. I mean, Chiang Mai is not the biggest city in Thailand in terms of driving, and Bangkok is a lot more frenetic. But, driving around Chiang Mai with all the scooters and the traffic, scooters whizzing up either side of the car, and Theresa was learning to drive or doing a driving test in Thailand to get a Thai driver's license. That is
needed yoga skills. I needed.
That was pretty intense. I mean, I would not like to drive we drive a scooter here, a bike, but not a car.
Well, because they don't give you any sort of lessons as such, and then it's like a 2-hour drive around Chiang Mai.
But you passed in the end.
Yeah.
And now you've got a Thai driver's license.
Yeah.
The thing is, one reason we came this year to Chiang Mai is to renew the Thai driver's licenses. For a bizarre twist of fate, that we actually used them in Europe to rent cars, specifically in the UK. Even though I have a driver's license in the UK, that's where I learned to drive and passed my test 25 years ago, I don't have the ability to rent a car because I haven't got the credit. I haven't been credit checked in the UK, but of course they can't check an overseas license, so I have to use my overseas license to drive a car in the UK. The irony. So, your biggest mistake? I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll just say that also ties in with my biggest mistake, which was booking a car hire in my name because I don't have any other license. So if I hadn't had that license, we wouldn't have got a car in a certain place. I can't remember. Cyprus. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of these things when you come off a plane at 1 a.m. in the morning and you're trying to find a car hire. Yeah, well, you're trying to find the car hire place. Or like when we got to the place in Cyprus on that particular occurrence, we couldn't find the key, we couldn't find the place. It was like 1 o'clock, it was dark, we couldn't get in to the Airbnb. We've been traveling for 12 hours. I think it's often, maybe some people think it's glamorous. I think some people probably realize that it's kind of not that glamorous. But yeah, traveling around the world, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. There's a lot of difficulties with it. I mean, it's not to say that it's not an amazing experience having seen all the places, but you definitely pay for it in terms of, some of these travels and yeah, the uncomfortableness of trying to find places to stay that then turn out to have a big building construction next door or some problem with them, so yeah, and then trying to find your way to the yoga studio and etc. So yeah, of course it's a very interesting experience, but definitely has some challenges. Maybe we'll come back to that in a sec.
Your biggest learning experience?
Learning experience, or I think I wrote down a few sketches here just to give me a couple of ideas. I think I said that it's not to over-deliver, that I tend to speak too fast, try and give too much information, and just end up confusing everyone sometimes. And that's not a great, let me take that back. There's not a great promotion for any workshops I do. It's not that bad, but it
can happen.
I tend to get excited and, especially, but I'm really trying to work on that. And especially because many of the students don't have English as their first language. So then obviously it's really challenging for people to understand me, my accent sometimes, the speed that I speak. And so, for next year, I'm working on that, have worked on that, and we'll work on that further, slowly, clearly. I mean, I'm always clear and pragmatic, but, trying to slow things down and not have to give so much. I think I often try and do a whole, what you could do for a whole teacher training in Ashtanga over a weekend workshop, just to try and, it's this underconfidence in the end, trying to prove oneself as adequate, I suppose, if we're looking at motivations that, as a teacher standing in front of an audience, you've got 30 people, 40 people there, you want to give as much as you can, that they feel it's a worthwhile experience, they've made a lot of sacrifices to come, you want to make sure that they get a lot out of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give them every single thing that you know. Sounds obvious when you say it, but not necessarily when you're standing up in front of a group of unknown people. I said that my biggest mistake was too much travel. I think we've gone through that one. I mean, it's not to kind of denigrate the experience that we've been having. I mean, how many years have we done it now? 3 years traveling around? Something
well, 2
years.
2, I'd say 2 and 10.
Yeah. It was a plan that we were going to do that all the time. We left France just for logistical reasons, really. And then we went to Bali because it was still kind of half lockdown, wasn't it? Or just coming out of lockdown.
Just coming out.
Yeah, we knew people in Bali and we thought, okay, that's an idea, just to somewhere else to go that's not back to the UK. And then we kind of just started to get invited, really. I think I got more popular at that time, maybe. We started to get invites, and the invites were generally in Europe. So that just started us traveling and not having a real base to go back to, because we packed up, we sold a car in France and packed all our suitcases. We just started going from one place to the next. So that's been our life ever since, which is not ideal, but that's been the way it is currently. And we're looking to slow that down. We're looking to streamline it and to have a base.
Yeah. Also, you kind of have to figure out a way, if you're not going to your own country, like a way.
Visa-wise. Yeah, visas. Visas, having a British passport and Brexit definitely hasn't helped us much. Well, on that note, what was your favourite country? Because,
Well, I have Greece.
Oh, I have Athens.
I have Athens. I put Athens, but then I realized that's not a country.
I know it's not a country, but yeah, you're correct. No, but narrowing it down, I think it was Greece.
Greece as well.
Yeah, I had Athens. Yeah.
Oh, not a country.
I had Athens. Athens, Greece. Athens, Greece. Because
we didn't go anywhere else in Greece. We didn't go
anywhere. I mean, Greece is really, when people think of Greece, I put Athens because when people think of Greece, I think they think of the islands, really.
Yeah.
For us, it was actually going to like a suburb of Athens, which happens to be on the water near the port of Piraeus. But it was good. And I think that we felt that we could probably stay there longer and base ourselves maybe from somewhere around there, or at least that's an idea right now. Yeah,
we can figure out the logistics.
Yeah, because Athens itself as a city is nice, and the weather's quite good for a lot of the year there. And the suburb was really nice. The suburb was kind of by the sea, so it had a little beach. It wasn't the best beach, but it was a beach, and a very quiet, peaceful kind of neighborhood. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't sound all that amazing.
Walking along the water, like
food was good.
Food very good.
Yeah.
Supermarket's good.
Yeah.
But walking along the water, because when we're in Asia, that's a huge.
You can't walk.
That we miss. Yeah, it's walking.
Best meal, worst meal. We can't put worst. We try not to be negative here. There've been a lot of bad meals, but not really from their fault of anyone else. Yeah, because we arrive late at somewhere and we're trying to go somewhere and we're trying to figure out where it is that's still open or yeah. I think we've had our fair share, or trying to get something from a supermarket late at night to eat. It can be challenging, I think, to eat when you're not.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything being like.
You haven't got your own kitchen.
Hideously bad.
Right.
Like a standout meal.
No, maybe you blanked it. I definitely think you've had some bad meals. More, you've had worse meals than me, I think. But best meal, I think you said, I think I saw your answer. You said that there was a place called the Arabian Kitchen in Dubai. Yeah, it was breakfast. We went for breakfast. I think we had something to do there, and then we ended up in this little port for breakfast, and we thought we'd have this Middle Eastern breakfast. And it was Friday at prayer time, so there's lots of people, wearing traditional costume, having come from prayers. It was just, very evocative, I think, and it's always great to have hummus at any time of day for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It is a great food.
It was like a breakfast platter. And we had the Arabic coffee with it, which comes with like dates and tahini.
Dates, yeah.
Yeah, fresh dates, like the kind you get from Holland and Barrett in the UK.
All different. I mean, when you go to the Middle East, there's just so many different types of dates. Yeah, I had that one.
You're copying my answer?
No, I didn't. I'm obviously in sync. Just having spent so much time together, we think alike sometimes. Sometimes, generally think alike.
Luckily, maybe
we don't.
Yeah,
probably people wonder also how do you get on? But I say we generally get on the road quite well, really. I don't really like arguing, but I tend to annoy Theresa, and then we get in a bit of trouble there, don't we? Because it can be too overbearing, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, we get on really well. Generally, this is lucky because we spend a lot of time together, and often just me and you, like on a
24/7, basically.
What did you wish you'd done but didn't do?
Okay, I have to say, spent more time in the UK.
Right.
I know it's not your favorite.
Why?
Just because it's grounding and it's like the place. Although I grew up in Canada and I still have a Canadian accent, it's kind of the most place I think of like home. And
yeah, I know
it's quite grounding, stabilizing, kind of like in my mind, very normal.
I'm not gonna be down in the UK, but I spent a lot of time there, and a lot of my life, I suppose.
Most of your life.
Quite happy to be outside the UK, really, not least because of the weather. But I mean, I enjoy the UK as much as the next person when we go to Waitrose or something, and you can cook. We have a place we can cook our own dinner. Now, sometimes even the cloudiness and it's all just so familiar. But that's I'll take it for a week, and that's enough time. We went there. We've been there for a couple of weeks this year. That was definitely enough. I didn't say I didn't enjoy it, but I wouldn't say I want to spend more time there. Lose a talent.
Okay, well, what's your wish you'd done but didn't?
Made more progress in my book.
Ah, okay. Do you want to elaborate?
No, the book is a work in progress. It's been a work in progress for years.
Has it changed theme?
It's changed in its focuses. It's basically just trying to write my posts in a longer form, really, in a way that's clear and like my posts, but in a more elaborated way. But it's hard to write longer.
Maybe you need a ghostwriter.
Yeah, you can write it for me.
We've tried that.
Yeah.
That's what we don't get along.
No, it's coming on. This is the best state it's been in so far. Watch this space for next year. What about best purchase?
Are we skipping what surprised you most?
No, what surprised you most? There's a surprise.
Puglia. surprised that's the most? Well, for me, it did.
Because you enjoy it.
Maybe you have a different.
I have a different answer.
Okay, you
Can't always be about places.
yours is probably more.
No, Puli was great in Salento. We taught in Salento for a week, and that was a really nice place.
It's been there like over 10 years ago, and
Well, I think we didn't have a car then. I mean, there's a difference. Yeah,
the place had changed, like the center itself, but also the little village and stuff. There was just more stuff.
I think we didn't have a car, so we saw more. I think there's that, but also the fact, I mean, Salento's obviously upgraded. It's got a lovely studio there. And just had a good time. It was a good one.
Really nice.
Great retreat, good group, and the villages around in Salento, like in the Puglia region, really, really nice. So that was nice.
Are you skipping your answer?
No, I said to people, I always am surprised at how open people are to looking at teaching, my teaching, and looking at yoga in a different way. Yeah. So it's not like I'm suggesting they don't do Ashtanga, as we said, but just keeping they're open-minded to trying different things, and that's always very surprising to me. That is usually the case.
Yeah.
And really, really nice. Okay, so I'm skipping. No, I haven't skipped anything. I said, what did you wish you'd done, but you didn't? Yeah, we've done that one. And best purchase, I've got coffee. It's not
coffee.
I don't know. Chris bought me a coffee. The manager of Purple Valley, he bought me a coffee in Goa.
That's not your purchase.
No, it wasn't my purchase, but it was a purchase made on my behalf. That coffee was really, really good.
Yeah, that was, you really liked it.
Yeah. It's like fruity. When you get like a light roast coffee and it's fruity and it tastes like orange overtones, it's going to be like a good wine, because I don't drink. So the appreciation of the taste of coffee can be.
You could be a barista in your next life.
I was a barista. We had a shop.
Oh, yeah.
Barista. I made terrible.
Not as bad as mine.
Yeah.
I think that was one thing.
What your best purchase? So many of them you probably can't remember.
Like not from Sephora. Best one was our new suitcases.
Yeah, we did get new suitcases because we just travel so much, and the old ones.
We were 10 years old.
Yeah, we got them for our wedding. For my dad.
Yeah, wedding. Yeah.
My dad and my now deceased grandparents on my dad's side.
Yeah.
And
so I've got that, or my travel mug, which since we travel, my mug that's full of ginger is something that makes you kind of feel like at home, because you have obviously hot drinks in the morning and whatnot, and sort of using the Airbnb mug isn't always nice.
What about the clothes?
Oh,
yeah. All your clothes purchases.
Well, we've got a 1-in, 1-out policy.
Have you stuck to that 1-in, 1-out policy?
No, sometimes I go up and down.
How heavy is your case now? Mine case is decreasing in weight.
No, not. Yours is 17.
20 kilos.
No, yours is 17. Mine is
25.
usually
24 at least.
No, we have to standard 20.
No,
yes,
it's not 20. I've lifted that
21.
Case. That case
15.
Is so heavy.
No,
Theresa has a bigger case than me anyway. We should get the cases out.
Mine at the very most is 21. And
it's burgeoning.
That's what I have
the thing.
Full shampoo and conditioner. But otherwise, because I can't carry travel size.
Okay.
Otherwise it's about 18. And yours is sometimes even like between.
Okay. We can't this is more information than needs to be thrown out maybe. Most inspiring podcast.
Okay. So I have to say,
most inspiring podcast.
Beryl Bender for me, because she's just so active and lively and interested. And so I have two: Beryl Bender or Daniela Bevilacqua.
No.
So Beryl Bender, because how old is she? 80.
Beryl's about 80. Yeah.
Aside from the fact that I think she flirts with you.
I think we get on very well, Beryl. I speak to her for we spent hours doing a 40-minute podcast.
Oh, and beforehand too.
And and afterwards.
She is amazing because whenever she's 80, she's like swimming. She's really cross country here and there.
She's really interested in
here and there. Yeah.
I think it's incredible.
And also because her book was like the first book in whatever, like
How Yoga,
1999.
Only book about Ashtanga, really.
Yeah.
And then she had the courage to write it and to say things about Patabi Joyce. I think that people hadn't heard at that time, for good or for bad.
Well, it was the first introduction
to my son.
A little intro at the start, saying that you had to write a letter. And you might not get an answer to the letter, but you'd still make your way to that town in India that, like, there was no Google, there was no anything like that. People did that. And to me, it was like, I had actually been to India in the early 90s.
That was a good, and I did her.
So it was kind of like she was always...
Second one with Beryl. I think we did one a couple of years ago. Ironically, from the very same, having traveled around the world a couple of times, we arrived at the same Airbnb that I was interviewing her last couple of years ago. Yeah, coincidentally.
And Daniela, the one we put out last week,
that's good,
because she just likes another very interesting woman who's spent loads of time in India living with sadhus and
living with the ascetics and
different
places. Yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, they're all good. Honestly, I struggled to pick one. Only the ones that I would not pick. But there's so many good guests.
Did you mean like favorite podcast of yours? Or the whole
podcast? All the podcasts, of course. It wouldn't be one.
I don't really listen to other ones, yeah.
No, yeah, my favorite podcast that anyone's done. Now that's an interesting one. I was assuming that it was our ones, but that opens up the whole gamut now. There was a good one done. I mean, I listened to all different people's podcasts: Yoga Land, Finding Harmony, Escaping Samsara with Nathan, Jay Brown's podcast. There's probably a couple of others that I listen to as well. Yoga Medicine sometimes. Daniel Simpson's The Truth of Yoga.
Yeah, that was a good podcast of yours as well.
Daniel's was great when he did when we spoke. That was really, Daniel was excellent. Gary Crafts on our podcast was really good. There's just been so many good guests this year. Christopher Wallace, I really enjoy speaking to. He's really smart. His books are excellent. Yeah, and a lot coming up next year as well to be excited about on the podcast. Just keep finding new people as I read new books. And usually I read a book, and the amazing thing is I ask, I'll find them somehow from their book, and they'll agree to come on. So it's like you can talk to the author, which is just so cool. If you read a book and then you imagine, I'd love to talk to this person and ask them about the book, and I actually can, which is just such a lucky experience, I think.
Who's on your wish list? Okay, it's not on the list of official questions, but is there someone that you've been wanting to...
Lino Miele, I would like to talk to. I haven't spoken to Lino. I'd like to talk to Manju. He hasn't agreed to come on.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would like to have that has never. Peter A. Levine, who is a trauma therapist, I wanted to have on. He hasn't answered me a couple of times. I've tried to get in touch with him. Oh, the list goes on. There's loads of people I want to speak to. Also, it'd be interesting, Russell Brand and the Dalliance with Yoga. I kind of thought it'd be interesting to speak to about yoga and stuff.
It'd be impossible to
get. No, I tried. They said come back to us at some point. And then other people's podcasts, really. Daniel Simpson's done some great podcasts. Jay Brown, one with Godfrey Devereux, I really enjoyed. He did a couple with Godfrey Devereux. There was Nathan's Escaping Samsaras with Simon Bourg-Olivier recently. That I thought was really good, really interesting. Another one, Nathan's one with Eddie Stern, Escaping Samsara. It was better than mine, I thought, with Eddie Stern. It was really, really good.
And what about
Finding Harmony? Harmony Slater's one with David Garrigues was really, really good and touching last year, I think, on the start. No, it was this year. So, yeah, so many. And most of them also, or some of them at least, from outside my own podcast.
What about yours with John? Because he was like one of your first teachers.
Yeah, John.
That took a while to get.
Yeah, John. That's probably been trying to get John for a few years.
But you didn't get John, did you?
No, Johnny. No, he's new.
Johnny.
No, he's new incarnation as Johnny.
Yeah.
And he's changed his name from John Scott to Johnny Scott. If you didn't know. No, it's good. Of course. I mean, I'm trying not to. I mean, I could mention all of them, of course, but I won't. Eddie Stern with me was really interesting. People found that really inspiring. I thought the one I recorded about Shirachi was quite good because it did express some very varied and nuanced feelings that I had around the passing of Shirat. Of course, I suppose we should mention that.
I was going to say
that
saddest moment.
Saddest moment of the year, right? Most surprising.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah.
We were in a taxi
going from Bangalore.
Yeah, Bangalore.
Heard, and we were destined on the flight.
Yeah.
I think it would come a day.
I was messaging, trying to phone you, and then messaged.
Yeah, phoning me a number of times.
And we thought,
why are they phoning me at this time in the morning?
Yeah,
and don't usually phone me. Then he messaged, and I couldn't believe it.
Like everyone, I'm sure.
I think if we heard the news, I think maybe your regrets. If we heard the news a day or so later, we would have tried to change our plans to stay in Mysore. Go from Bangalore, then stay in Bangalore, go down to Mysore and be in attendance for Shrat's funeral, which we didn't go to. So that's a regret. I'd say it's a regret. I wish I'd been there for the funeral. We hadn't been for a number of years to Mysore. I was always ambivalent in the more recent years about what I was saying and how Shrat might take that if he ever read the posts or stuff that I put out, which I'm sure he didn't, hopefully. Not that I'm speaking against him. I said, I never speak bad about my experience of Mysore or Shrat or of Patabi Joyce because they were, they were all positive figures for me, in my experience. Although not everyone has had the same experiences. So whenever I tried to present something that I felt was difficult or problematic about Mysore, I'd try and bear in mind that, I had a very positive experience there as well. So, that was a shock. And it was shocking how I'd also felt very upset in a way. I mean, I hadn't envisaged that Shrat would pass away in 100 years, and I never thought never crossed my mind. But I was not only shocked, but I was also shocked at the feelings that it brought. So that was a challenging month. Obviously, as time goes on, you become more used to it. But still, if you reflect about it, it's still quite unbelievable that it's the case. So,
I felt very sad,
but
also kind of sad for a time that was.
Yeah, for our time with Shrat as well, for when we knew him when he was younger and there were less students and less pressure on him. And he wasn't the Param Guru, maybe. It was, you can have direct access with Shrat. He would be very much there as a regular, able to be a regular teacher to you, which I think in the later days, in the bigger new Shala, he wasn't so able to be because of the numbers and stuff. So, Theresa hosted him at Purple Valley, and we used to sit on the terrace in Goa and Purple Valley, just us, me, Theresa, and him, and we could talk with him like at dinner, and just as it was the access that we used to have.
Actually, someone this year asked me sort of who was the favorite teacher that I hosted in my 3 years there, and they were surprised that I said Shrat. One of the reasons was he was, I'd say, like one of, if not the most low maintenance teachers. He was so easygoing. It was before he'd taken over the mantle from Guruji, and he was just
Patabi Joyce.
It was just very easy.
He one time
non-demanding.
The cook forgot to cook his dinner, and he
didn't. He was like,
didn't mention anything.
I forgot Shrat.
He didn't have any dinner that night. So that's obviously you have to mention that, and I don't think words can do justice to the lack for Ashtanga yoga, and of course it arises in all our minds. What's going to happen now? And people ask me, I don't know. I'm as clueless as you. I'm not I'm watching and waiting for developments just as you are. So, let's see what happens, and to leave it there with that. That's obviously really the most challenging thing for this year. Okay, finally, what would you want to change for next year?
Are we not doing favorite book?
Well, yours was a book no one had heard of.
Wait.
Okay, what was your favorite?
Chinese bestseller, Pachinko.
Okay, what's it about?
It's about the lives of Koreans from the 1940s, like a generational kind of saga. They moved to Japan and just, as you know, I like historical fiction, and just filled in a big piece of history and sort of idea of what life is like for other people facing like serious challenges, which I think is always a good thing if you're feeling challenged yourself, or
if you've got modern life problems. To read.
Something that's like.
No, I mean, to be fair,
struggling to have a meal. It's kind of like. And then how the sort of it changes over generations also shows that nothing is set like what you think. So.
I remember reading Young Chang's Wild Swans when I was 15. Oh, that was an incredible book, so touching. That stayed with me forever after. When the Kuomintang march into China, and then they kill loads of people, and then the other side takes over. So it's both, whatever side you're on, you're stuck in the end. Then if you sided with the Kuomintang, then the Chinese government takes over, and they also, I
think
it's unbelievable.
Not like that, but kind of similar, as in Pachinko is this gambling thing, and this guy ends up, due to his fate, running these gambling salons that actually is more ethical than,
Ethical gambling. That would be interesting.
well, like had better ethics than the guy who went to work for the banking, whatever, something like that. So it was like, although not on you.
No, it was a book on yoga. My book is on yoga.
Yes, of course. What is it?
The Modern Path of Yoga. Again, Elliot Goldberg's The Modern Path of Yoga. It's an excellent book if you haven't read it. I've read it 3 times now. And spoiler, Elliot is finally going to come on the podcast next year. Early in the next year, we're really hoping to have a chat with Elliot about his book, The Modern Path of Yoga. If you haven't read it, read it. There's so many good books, though. I mean, Christopher Wallace's Near Enemies of the Truth was an excellent book. Daniel Simpson's book, The Truth of Yoga. It's obviously a great book if you haven't read that. Shyam Ranganathan's book, Decolonializing Yoga, is a very interesting book and very well worth reading. Some things I agree with and some things I disagree with, but very thought-provoking. Just there's so many good books I've read this year. Probably more on yoga than you, I think. But yeah,
every night.
Yeah. It's an advanced subject. That's what you find. You can keep reading and reading about it, and people constantly putting books out. So yeah, there's a lot out there. And if you ever want to have some reading recommendations, you know where to come. Changes for next year is our final question. The obvious one I think we both say is probably trying to streamline the schedule, less travel, and just more kind of longer stays in places, and less just dotting about to city doing weekend workshops. I suppose it's tiring. I mean, sometimes in the from April to September last year, I think I did a different city every weekend. Sometimes it's just too much.
There was a period.
Yeah, it's a bit much. I mean, I don't think I shall say myself that I don't think my teaching suffered, but I think you suffered. And
well, we did it, but I don't know whether I don't want to keep.
You can't keep doing that forever.
So I guess maybe we didn't have the question of what we're looking forward to, but just tying it in with those last couple points, we do have like a whole month in Goa next year, so two-week retreats in November, and one of the guest teacher each week was
retreat.
No, just about Daniel Simpson in the book.
Daniel,
coming.
Daniel's coming for the second 2 weeks. So I'm actually really excited about that next year in Goa in November. I think it's November.
Would be sort of, what are you looking for?
What are you looking forward to?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got an intensive in Frankfurt that should be interesting for a week. We like Frankfurt. We like people of Germany. UK, we've got something in Manchester for a week. It'd be interesting. I've hardly ever, as a southerner, a UK southerner, I've hardly ever been up north much. And it'd be great to be in the UK. And
we've been told that there's a lot more sun up there.
I there's less sun in Manchester.
The people,
the Northerners, they're much more friendly than the Southerners anyway.
Sense of humor.
Yeah.
You forget when you're out of England for so long and then you meet up with sort of English people again.
Got to have a sense of humor. You've got 10.5 months a year of a lack of any sun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. I mean, I suppose, lots to look forward to really. In Salento's coming up again. Well, I don't even know the schedule. Shadi, Turkey, Recep's hotel in the south of Turkey, and Recep's been a friend for years. If you're listening, Recep, you've done a great job with the hotel and with the hosting of people. It's a lovely place. Yeah, Recep does the cooking as well. He's a host, does the cooking,
doing practice,
and the practice,
winning,
does everything, and the cleaning. Yeah.
Maybe biggest surprise this year could have been the laundry tombola.
Oh yeah, there's a certain way that he does the laundry where everyone chucks their laundry and everyone throws their laundry in, and you just pick out your laundry out of the basket when it comes back clean. So it's perhaps not everyone's favorite idea if you're a bit more picky about your stuff. But I lost a sock, I believe, and a pair of pants.
I think people took.
I think they took them as a suit. Yeah, my pants were a souvenir. Maybe it's like when the Beatles performed, the women used to throw their pants at you.
That didn't happen.
No, or they throw their pants at you.
Edit.
Right. I did. Anyway, so the laundry tombola, that went quite well. Looking forward to so many things next year, and sharing time with you as well online, and meeting some of you in person. And just thanks again from the Keen on Yoga. From us
headquarters,
the moving headquarters. And thanks for being interested and supporting the podcast and listening to stuff. Because obviously, if you weren't, then we wouldn't be doing it. And it's been a great time to share with you and to develop ideas and to be able to pull different people's ideas into one kind of platform, right? So we can to look and compare and contrast. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and it's all really down to you. So thank you again for listening to all the stuff and taking time to comment and share your thoughts. And looking forward to next year. Don't hesitate to get in touch if you have a guest or have an idea for us to do, or have a studio that you want us to visit. And hopefully we can make it work, or invite the guest, or make your idea work. So thanks again, and wishing you all the best for the new year. Really are. Hope to see some of you who haven't met you already, and hope to see you again if we have. All right.
Very well said.
All right. We'll join you again next week with a normal guest episode. So we'll see you then. Have a good first week of the new year.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः दुष्ट विनायक नमो